The return of the royals. Earlier this morning, Queen Elizabeth at her first public event since the pandemic began. She and Prince William were there taking part in the opening of a new defense research center. It looks at things like counterterrorism measures and studies Novichok, the poison, for example. But as you can see in these pictures, the big headline that's coming out of this is no masks in sight. Even though they do seem to be keeping a safe distance, no masks in sight. And Dominic Velitis is here from Bristol, England. We've been wondering about this and how they would keep everybody safe, Dom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously, Heather, safety was a primary concern for today's visit. This was, after all, the Queen's first engagement outside of a royal residence and so-called HMS bubble, as certain sections of the press here have named her lockdown experience over recent months. And it is worth remembering, isn't it, Heather, that the Queen is 94 years old, and that puts her at greater risk of COVID-19. And certainly measures were in place for today's visit. It was a short visit, just under an hour long, and everyone attending was told to ensure that they observed social distancing and follow the government's guidelines on working during a pandemic. One royal correspondent here at Heather is reporting, and we can't verify this, but is reporting that the Queen and Prince William, who was also there today, were tested for coronavirus before, and obviously those tests came back negative. But not only that, Heather, every single person at this centre today was also tested, about 50 people in all, and they all came back negative as well. There was, you're quite right, speculation today whether or not the Queen and Prince William would actually wear masks, because after all, some of this visit actually took place indoors, but we can now see from the pictures that they've released anyway that they didn't. Now, all the palace would say to me this morning on this particular front, Heather, was that specific medical advice had been taken ahead of today's visit, which they underlined was to a Ministry of Defence research centre, where, among other things, scientists there are supporting the UK government's response to the coronavirus pandemic. The inference there really being that the people at this centre, Heather, know a thing or two about coronavirus and the necessary steps and the necessary measures that need to be in place to ensure everyone's safety. Heather.
Dominic, thank you for all of that coverage this morning.